Another young superstar, Ja Morant, showed out in a three-point loss Sunday to the Lakers, dropping 43-10. Ja was picked second overall in 2019. LaMelo Ball third in 2020. That got us thinking, who would you rather have, Ja or LaMelo? Who wants to start here?
Go ahead, S.A.
Yeah,
Go ahead. Yeah, we've been starting every show we come on. We always start.
We want this to be second take.
Let's be clear. Let's be clear. It's Ja Morant.
Okay.
This brother's on another level. I don't like the fact that he missed up the back end of
free throw. Yeah,
free throw.
40 and 10.
I believe in this brother. This brother is a superstar in the making, and that's not to throw any shade on LaMelo Ball, who obviously I got a lot of love for. And by the way, let's give his pops some props. His pops told us for many years. Listen, my sons can play. Lonzo has elevated his game. I think the best thing that's happened to Lonzo.
Get out of L.A., though. That was the best thing.
The best thing. Part one was him getting out of L.A. Part two was his brother entering the league.
Yeah.
Because, you got that sibling rivalry. And he elevates his game, and so you see that. Because LaMelo is the kind of dude that he just got a lot of heart and skill. Beautiful point guard, tremendous promise, not taking anything away from him. I'm just saying that when I look at Ja Morant, this brother is sensational. I mean, he's got box office superstardom written all over him, okay? And he's only getting better. He's ferocious. He's incredibly athletic. Is he a passer like LaMelo? No. He's everything else. Everything else. Ja Morant is the real deal. And not only is he the real deal in terms of numbers, he's the real deal in terms of competitiveness. You walk through the turnstiles to see the show that this brother's going to put on. I'm a Ja Morant fan, and even over LaMelo Ball. And I love LaMelo Ball, but Ja Morant is a special dude.
Yeah, I like Ja, and I was talking to Jay about this a while ago. Ja reminds me a lot of Dame, right? He reminds me just a lot. High-scoring volume.
Yeah, not the long-range game.
Not the long-range game, but the high score, the volume.
Yep.
And to a degree, LaMelo reminds me of Jason Kidd, but a better scorer. Okay? A better
I like
scorer.
that analogy. I like
and
that.
So when I'm looking at that, you say, well, who would you rather have to build your team around, for instance? I'd rather have a dude that's complete like Ball. Complete, which means he can score, he's long,
I don't know if he plays
rebound.
better defense than Ja Morant. I don't think so.
I don't know, but here's what I'm going to say. You also have to factor into his youth and his age. This is the first time in his career he's really played organized basketball. Not no high school stuff real quick, not overseas real quick. This is the first time. He didn't play in college, and he only played a stint overseas.
That's
that was real organized basketball. In high school, it's high school. This is the first time. He's only going to continue to get better.
You could make an argument that playing overseas better prepares you than actually playing in college because of the professional game.
He didn't finish playing, though.
But he
only played a handful
of
games.
I think he has an advantage because he's played around his brothers for a long time, and Lonzo's always played a pro-like game in the way they see the floor. S.A., I hear what you're saying. Have you ever stood? Have you been next to Ja?
No.
So they labeled Ja as 6'3". Ja ain't 6'3". Now I'm with you on Ja. You know how I'm built. I'm already connected there. Ja's like 6'1.5", 6'2", right? Okay. Fantastic athletic. LaMelo's 6'7".
Yeah, long,
was not even grown into his body yet.
I stood next to him.
Yeah, he's long.
6'7" was not grown into his body yet.
Okay.
Now the playmaking ability, that's where I think I have to fight back because I didn't agree with Key at first on this one.
Okay.
LaMelo Ball might end up becoming the face of the league.
Tried to tell Jay this a year ago.
No,
we talked about this, so he might not.
And I said it might not happen in Charlotte. He may have to move to become that face to a bigger market, but I see it happening.
I hope for Jordan's sake he stays in Charlotte.
And Ja's on his way, but let me tell you where LaMelo has a different advantage than Ja. See, LaMelo has been built into this distribution network from his brother, the show, everything. You know everything about LaMelo from an early age. If it's him pulling up to a game in a green jacket and a green Lamborghini, you hate it if you like it, right? It's polarizing. But his on-the-court play speaks volumes because he gets everybody involved. So it's a combination of both, where I think Ja is way more understated, absolute killer, but what LaMelo can grow into, I think he has a higher ceiling.
I would say that
he can have a higher ceiling.
Y'all. Here's what I would say. We've seen, like you talk about the greatness of a Jason Kidd and guys like that, right? But when you looked at Kobe, it was just something different.
It was an it factor.
And I'm telling you that when it comes, because Jason Kidd had the it factor now. Jason Kidd was a showman. It wasn't Showtime with Magic and stuff. But Jason Kidd was one of those dudes that reminded you of what Showtime used to be because Jason Kidd leading the break
when he came
was something
into the
special
league.
to behold.
That's what they kept saying,
he was
Young
spectacular.
Magic.
What I'm saying to you is when you look at Ja Morant, he is a killer. He's a guy that you give the ball to LaMelo to make the right play. You give the ball to Ja Morant, finish the deal. There's just a different mentality. And I'm saying to you, I can't ignore that. Right now, it's only 3 games into the season. He averaging 35 on 58% shooting, 44% for three-point range. We know that's not going to last in terms of the percentage. But the point, this brother can do it anytime he wants to. He's that spectacular, and he's a killer. You saw him in a playing game against Golden State in the playoffs. You see what this guy has done in pressure moments. He answers the call. And I'm just saying, I can't ignore that killer in him that shows up when it counts. Ja Morant is special. Is special.
I agree.
Right.
You have to take into consideration, though, he's a year further ahead in the process.
Okay.
Year 3 as opposed to LaMelo,
Okay.
who's got the Rookie of the Year,
Okay.
right? And also look at the makeup of the team. Now, I'm not saying dismissing Ja's not elevating Dylan Brooks and Jackson and all these guys. But you look at the makeup of the team that LaMelo has. In fact, they were in the consideration last year before the bottom kind of dropped out. They're right there. He's on pace.
Yeah.
He's on pace to do something similar.
All right, well,
now.
it's fluid. It's fluid.
It's fluid.
It's fluid.
Yes, I
Okay,
like this
but
line.
the bottom line is you can't ignore when we think about the great players that we talk about. When you think about that 75 list, we talk about people. Most of the people who made the list were people who closed, people who finished, people who had that it factor. And I'm saying Ja Morant has that. No one will deny that. No one will deny that. Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming, sports, and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.